Okay, welcome everybody. This is Pauline Chung with the San Mateo Area Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to welcome you to our monthly Latino Chamber Committee gathering. Today's guest speaker is Maria Barreda. She's with Johnson Dugan. Her topic will be working from home. So she's going to share about how employers can implement a work from home policy to service clients. And Maria has worked in the employee benefits industry for more than 20 years and is very familiar with working from home schedule. Take it away, Maria.
Thank you, Pauline, for helping us set up this presentation. And thank you for those of you who are able to attend the presentation today. My goal is to share with all of you some of the things that we have learned over time at Johnson & Dugan. For those employers that are thinking about establishing a formal work from home policy, I know that we have been kind of forced into it lately for the last 2 or 3 months, but some employers are actually going to be making this part of their policy going forward. So I want to share with you some of the things that we have learned at Johnson & Dugan. So let me share my screen. All right. Hope you all can see my presentation. So Johnson & Dugan is an insurance broker that has been in the Peninsula for over 30 years. I have been with Johnson & Dugan 21 years. This past June, I celebrated my 25th anniversary. Very happy to work there. And so we are a company that has been in the Peninsula for many, many years. So how we came to start this policy, it actually started before I came to Johnson & Dugan. There was one employee at the company that was really valuable, and she informed us that she was going to be moving to Seattle to be closer to family. The company, of course, did not want to lose her, and so the partners decided to open an office in Seattle. Why not? You can imagine the expenses that are involved in that kind of decision, but they felt very comfortable that she was the right employee for that. And so they helped her relocate because they didn't want her to resign the company. So, you know, from that, an idea was born. What if we also set up a policy for employees to work from home? What would that look like? So they thought about it and they decided that in order to make it work, they had to create an agreement that both the employer and the employees could go back to and draft and say, okay, these are the things that we know we can do, and these are the things that we know can work. So let's move forward. In addition to that, they also had to update the employee handbook because that was a really important part of that, that component.
Maria, did you want to do a full screen share? Because we see 2 screens right now.
You see 2 screens or 1?
2 pages, 2 pages.
2 pages. Okay, yes, I definitely want to do full screen. So let me see how I could make this. Now go back.
I think you have it on 2. If you go move 1 more to the left is 1, I think, right?
No, I actually.
She's got it in presentation mode. So somehow, where she can see her notes and look ahead and stuff, there's a setting somewhere and I don't quite know where it is.
Hi, Saley.
Hi, dear. How are you?
I'm good. Hang on. Let me see. So you still see two screens, right? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, we still see 2 screens, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Let me see how I can do this because I definitely want to show only. This is an interesting puzzle. Let me finish the presentation. And okay, how about now?
That's it.
Better.
Yay. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, better. Yeah.
Thank you for letting me know. So anyways, we, the company decided to set up an employee a policy, right? I mean, it's very basic. All the things that you would expect to see on any kind of agreement is what you would see in our agreement. This is an example. This is not the exact same one that we started with. It evolves over time. because things change, and so you have to be able to address those changes. But if you ever want to have just a basic agreement, I am happy to provide one similar to this one that pretty much is a blueprint, so that you don't have to start from scratch. And then of course we would recommend that you share it with your legal department so that they're able to review it and make sure that it works for you. So one of the things that we found that made it ideal for us to work was the fact that we can leverage technology. A few years after I started working at Johnson Dugan, we went through a layoff. I think a lot of companies experience some kind of downsizing when we had the tech industry go through, a downsizing. And so we were part of that as well. We had to let go a few employees. And so we were basically forced into using more technology, which actually turned out to be a really good thing, because it helped us become more productive and more efficient. And so because of that, our company decided that it was the right time to implement a policy for retention purposes, but also to make us more competitive in the workplace. So it started with working 2 days from home. For employees who were account managers and account executives, this turned out to be a really great perk. And so it helped us to provide employees with the equipment that they would need to work from home. Employees had to be sure that they had a reliable Wi-Fi connection. I know that is no surprise to some of you that there are some areas in the Bay Area where Wi-Fi is just not very reliable. So that was the key. It had to work. Employees also had to learn to be productive when you work remotely, right? Because a lot of times we don't have the discipline that comes with that. It's easy to get distracted if you're at home. You'll do your laundry, you'll cook, you'll watch TV, and before you know it, hey, it's 5 o'clock and you haven't gotten anything done. So it was really important that we learned to be self-disciplined and get work done. Employees also had to be able to connect with their teammates. And that is really critical, because if you're working on a project, you have to be able to do your share. For us in the insurance industry, if we're working with a client and we're trying to set up their benefits, we have to be able to move the process forward. If it's a presentation to do with employees, if it is a meeting, if it is forms that they have to be filled out, we have to be able to utilize the technology so that we can stay on target. Because any delays when it comes to setting up benefits can be really critical, especially if you have employees that are in the middle of a treatment. You have to be sure that you have your specific start dates, just start on the day that you promised you were going to start. And so also important is the employee thriving, because it's really easy to kind of get lost. If you don't see somebody on a regular basis, then how do you know those employees are actually not feeling overwhelmed? How do you know those employees are actually keeping pace with everything that has to be done for your clients? So this is another piece that is really important. And so training becomes really critical. So having somebody in your staff that can help you identify those situations where somebody maybe needs additional training, or maybe needs to take a vacation, or maybe needs to have some personal development or professional development, is really important to do. Okay, so employers also have to know their workforce. Employers, when they see their employees every day, they kind of get used to what employees can do, but they also learn to identify the employees that maybe struggle with certain areas. I know that we have some employees that are really not comfortable with technology, but they have learned to use the technology that they need to learn to work from home. However, these are not the people that are going to be quick to update a presentation. So we know that there needs to be a department where all of those things can be done. But on the flip side, those employees are really great at engaging with clients. They have so much knowledge related to benefits that they are very quick to make good recommendations. So this is a way where we find balance, that some of the employees on your team may be really great with technology, or really great with some of the presentations, and other people are just really great with the content that can go on those presentations. this is also important to figure out if this change is going to affect your relationship with your clients. I found a really interesting thing that since we went remote on a full-time basis, I was able to meet with clients through Zoom that I had never met. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have some clients that I've had for many, many years. And anytime I try to get in front of them, anytime I try to schedule a meeting, they were always like, oh, no, it's okay. Just email it to me. Just let's just do it over the phone. So I really had a hard time meeting them. And so for me, that was concerning because, as you know, developing those close relationships means that you're probably going to retain that business. But if people don't want to see you, well, there's very little I can do about that. But since we all have started to work from home, it was actually really easy to get them to do a Zoom meeting. I don't know why, but for some reason that worked. And so now I actually got to meet some of the clients that I had not met for many, many years. So you also want to make sure that your employees are trained on the tools that you need to work from home. I already mentioned this before, that employees should know how to use these tools, but it's also important that they know how to connect with your IT department so that the IT department can help remotely with any applications that are not working. Myself, a few weeks ago, I was having some problems accessing the server in the office, and so I had to reach out to the IT department. They were extremely patient with me. I can assure you it wasn't user error. There was a problem with the technology on my laptop. And so we stayed on the phone, I want to say maybe 2 hours, and they were able to remotely work out those kinks. So having an IT department that can help with those situations is also really critical to making sure that your workforce can work from home. And again, that question, is your employee thriving? You want to make sure and check back constantly, because it's really easy for employees to kind of get lost and feel disconnected. So for employees that are going to be working from home, this is one of the areas where I think a lot of times people can get a little lazy, but you want to create a workspace that feels like your office. And I cannot stress this enough. We all have been in presentations where employees maybe are distracted or maybe are not focusing on the content that is being presented. Or maybe you are getting distracted by the background, or maybe you're distracted by other people walking around in the background. So whenever possible, and I understand this is not possible for all employees, but if it's possible to have a suitable workspace where you can set up your computer, your printer, you can have your headphones so you can reduce some of the background noise. Those types of things are going to be really important for you to focus on your work. Reduce the clutter so that you can focus on what you have to take care of that particular day. Create your agenda with goals for the day so that you can have measurables, so that you can say, okay, I checked all the boxes in my checklist today, so I know that I had a really productive day. I can tell you, you can say, oh my gosh, I had a productive day. What did you do? I called a couple of clients, and you know that you did a lot. But if you don't have it written down some way that you can track it, then it's really hard for you to really see the proof that you've had a really productive day. You want to reduce the distractions if possible. So not have the TV on. If you can have an office where you can close the door for the time that you're going to be doing your meetings or you're going to be working on a project, that would be great. Not possible in every situation. I totally understand. And then what I like to do, I like to pretend that I'm going to the office every day. So for me, that means getting up around the same time every day, take a shower, I have my breakfast, get myself ready so that I'm presentable, just in case a client wants to have a meeting at a moment's notice and we can jump on Zoom and I know I look like I'm ready for that meeting. So, you know, everybody has a different routine. I know some people like to start their day with some exercise. Maybe some would like to start the day with some meditation, and some people like to create a checklist in the morning before they get their day started. However you like to do it, you should always sit at your desk and pretend that you're in the office, because that's going to make it a lot easier for you to actually focus on work and not spend a lot of time checking social media or going on Pinterest, you know, to get those recipes. So just really important to do that every day. And then, are you thriving or are you struggling? It is really important to do the self-check as an employee, as a person. Don't leave it up to your employer to identify that. You should also be able to do that yourself. And if you're struggling, try to figure out, where are you struggling? You know, do you need more training? Are you falling behind on your projects? Is this something that maybe requires for you to have a meeting with your team and try to figure out, you know, where are the gaps? You know, where are we falling through the cracks? Is this something that can be fixed, or do we need something different? So there are a lot of benefits for employees to work from home, and there are actually a lot of benefits for employers as well. I created a list of some of the things that I could think of, and I'm sure some of you probably have identified a few others that can be added to this list. But one of the things that I identified was a smaller office footprint. So an employer that has maybe 25, 30 employees, if half of those employees are able to work from home, then maybe that employer doesn't need the same office space. Or maybe the employer decides to keep that office space because this is something that you can actually create more space between work areas, right? I mean, right now we're talking about some kind of social distancing or spacing, you know, trying to maintain 6 feet between you and another person. So the employer can decide, you know, this is the perfect opportunity to create that environment because we have less people coming into the office. It also creates flexibility in deciding where you want to have your business located. I know for a lot of us, it's super convenient to have our business located here in the peninsula. It's an ideal location. It makes it easy for us to get to all of the different places that we need to be at for meetings or networking, whatever the case may be. But maybe this is the time for their employer to decide that maybe you don't need to be in the area where traffic can be really, really difficult sometimes. It also increases retention. Think of those employees. Think back to that one employee that our company did not want to lose. That employee that even today, she's still with the company. And retention, there you go. I have been with this company for 21 years. Believe me when I tell you that the #1 perk was actually the work from home option. Oops, let me close this. So retention is really critical and should not be underappreciated. Also, a lot of us are driving less. And so that means better for our environment because it is reducing greenhouse emissions. So all of us care about our environment here in the Bay Area. This is one of the reasons why we live here. We love it. And so if we're driving less, that means that we're using less gas. And then also tapping into a broader talent pool. Well, maybe there's an employee that you want to hire that will be ideal for your company, but doesn't live in the Bay Area. And in the past considered it, but did not want to relocate the family. Well, if that employee happens to live in Los Angeles, so what? Now you can approach that employee and say, hey, you know, right now it could be the right time for you to consider Johnson & Dugan, for example, because working from home, hey, who wouldn't love it? It would be 100% of the time, and you don't have to relocate to the Bay Area, right? So there are also benefits for employees. So for employees, you know, your commute now has been reduced from your bed to your desk. Who wouldn't like that? I know I would. I know I enjoy it. I know it's a lot less stressful in the morning when I'm getting ready for work. There's also increased flexibility with your family and your work schedule. If I know that today I am going to go visit my daughter, or today I have to make an appointment, or you know, I have to drop by the office to pick up something that was printed, I can, you know, create some flexibility around that schedule. It's also reducing commuting expenses. And for some employees that had to drive into San Francisco or that had to cross a bridge, they will tell you that that was one of the #1 expenses that they really had to factor into their monthly budget. If you're taking BART, if you're taking the Caltrain, if you're paying for parking because you're going into the city, all of those expenses are cutting into your income every month. So not only do you have to worry about your rent, your insurance, your gas, you also have to worry about commuting expenses. So this is something that employees can reduce if they're working from home. This is also an opportunity to learn new skills. I can tell you that after we started working from home 100% of the time, I started to practice my presentation skills through Zoom. I was okay, but I wasn't an expert. Today, I'm still not an expert, but it's giving me an opportunity to practice those skills. And that's just one. It's also giving me an opportunity to learn skills on how to put a presentation together, because this is now the form of communication with a lot of my clients. So, you know, I have to be sure that I know how to create presentations and how to present them properly to my clients. So that's another critical thing that employees can benefit from. This is also an opportunity for us to reduce our risk of infection because of social distancing. You know, we can control our exposure. We can decide when we want to go out and be out shopping, buying groceries, going for a walk, exercising, meeting friends or clients. So it is within our control. Nobody, or at least nobody, is telling me I have to go into the office every day. Our boss actually said that we should not be in the office at all. And if there was anything that we needed, to let him know, and he will figure out a way for us to get it. So just think about that. You know, if you can think of one perk that could be very valuable for you and your health and the health of your family, this is definitely one of them. I also want to talk about managing stress, because working from home can be great, but there's also some stress associated with that. For me, it's really easy because I'm alone. I don't have to worry about anybody except me, right? I don't have a pet that I have to walk anywhere. I don't have children that I have to feed every day. But there are other families that actually working from home can be really stressful, because now they have, you know, children that they have to get set up for their schoolwork on their computers every day. They have to fix lunch. They have to walk the dog. They have to do laundry. All of the things that you used to escape when you went to the office, now it's all at home. And so it's just really critical to figure out ways to balance all of that. You're in a more crowded environment. It may be a little bit harder to actually have some privacy when you're doing some of your work. And so it's really important to just look at the things that are affecting the work that you're doing every day. You know, sit down with your family and try to figure out how you all together can come up with a plan. Sometimes you have younger children, but as they start to get older, they start to see that, hey, you know, this is kind of the new normal. We all kind of have to collectively make decisions that can work for everybody. You also have to figure out ways to share responsibilities that are age appropriate, so that you don't have to do everything for everybody. If you're feeling lonely, depressed, isolated, I mean, that could be the situation for me, right? Because like I said, I have no children or pets or anybody that I can interact with on a daily basis. So it's really important for employees to, you know, kind of keep an eye on that. If they're feeling lonely, depressed, isolated, reach out to family, friends, connect with your doctor. If you have an EAP plan that your employer provides, maybe it would be a good idea to kind of reach out to somebody. Meditation has actually been great for me. I start every day with meditations, 20 minutes, and it's fantastic. I also love to read. So by nature, I love solitude. It gives me a lot of time to think. But one that I'm actually finding, the lack of physical activity can be, you know, pretty challenging, because before, if you were in an office, you know, you can get up and walk around and interact with other people. You can go for a walk if you were, you know, picking up lunch. But now at home, it's a little bit more difficult. So I'm basically finding the time every day to do at least 15 minutes of cardio at home. And so those are the kinds of things that I wanted to share with you. I hope this information has been valuable. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. No questions.
No, I think it's wonderful that you're saying all that, because just the driving part of it is a lot of stress for everyone. And so working from home actually, you know, calms you down and make you concentrate better. If you know how to do it, like you said, if you have all these things in place, you know, otherwise you're watching TV every day, which is not good.
I make sure my TV is turned off by 8 and it doesn't go on again until after 5, even if I want to watch the news. Nothing between 8 and 5.
Yes, and actually that's a really good point, Saley, because I find that if I treat it as a work office, you know, it works a lot better, right? You're cutting back on your distractions, and then at 5 o'clock, oh, you know, my workday is over. I can now treat myself to those distractions that I enjoy, either reading or cooking or
Well, I
drinking.
continue working with the TV on, but
Yeah, but
I
at
don't
that
turn it
point,
on.
you don't feel guilty or you don't feel irresponsible because you have taken care of business during the work hours. So I completely agree.
I did want to mention something you said that really hit home with me because I'm going through this right now, is my employees, my office employees are working from home. And I have one employee that I don't quite know what to do with because she is not being as productive as she should be.
Okay.
When you said, is your employee thriving? And she's not, you know,
Okay.
so I really need to treat it like that. Not you're slacking, but what can I do, you know, to make this more bearable for you?
Yeah.
You know, so
And I mean, and she may
great
have some
words.
challenges going on at home that she's not sharing with you.
Exactly.
I think employees sometimes are afraid to share because they don't want to come across as vulnerable and incompetent. But sometimes, you know, if you can get them in that comfort space where you can say, hey, you know, it's not about you failing in your work. It's about me figuring out a way to help you.
Yeah.
You know, what is it that you need that I can provide? And then also you also want to revisit, did you have an agreement that you signed in the very beginning? I know that we all kind of rushed into it. We already were doing it. So
Yeah,
for us, it was no big deal. But a lot of employers just kind of like, okay, we are going to shelter in place. That means everybody start working from home on Monday. And a lot of people just didn't have time to prepare for it. You know, if you didn't have an agreement, now we have clients calling us and say, hey, do you have a template that I can use? Do you have a checklist that I can use to kind of work my way through to see if I can, you know, at least hit 80% of the items on the checklist to help me implement this policy? So a lot of groups are kind of going back and starting with that policy, then working on that employee handbook, and then also the checklist. So I can send to you the template for the agreement if you want to start with that, and I can send to you the checklist if you want to use it. Like I said, you know, some of the items on that checklist is something that worked for us. It worked for some of our clients. It's not going to work for everybody.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tailor it to your own workforce. Yeah, Cesar?
I know a friend of mine, she works at Wells Fargo and she works from home. And so they have tracking software where you have to have your computer on. And I mean, there's ways to get around that, obviously. But, you know, if the computer goes on sleep mode for more than 15 minutes during working hours, she gets dinged or, you know, she might get in trouble. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's annoying, but
it is annoying, and it's a really difficult thing.
But as an employer, you know, it's a different story from as an employee, but I've been an employer, so I cracked the whip, but that's a different story.
That's a different thing. And, you know, one of the reasons why I have enjoyed working at Johnson Dugan so long is because I don't have a helicopter, you know, hovering over me, telling me, oh, you're not doing your work, or, you know, show me what you're doing, or where were you between 11 and 2? None of that happens. The work is getting done, and it shows on the client retention. But I do understand that there are some positions where employers actually need to see that their employees are productive. And that is really challenging because it varies from industry to industry. So I'll give you an example. My daughter was working for a company in San Francisco, and then shelter in place happened. Well, you know, she had her laptop, and you know, her work required her to interact constantly with coworkers and the people that she was reporting to. So for her, it was really easy to show that she was doing her work. But for employers that need to monitor that kind of activity, it gets more challenging. I know that some employers have a policy, for example, if you're doing a meeting, everybody should be on screen. There shouldn't be any closed, you know, privacy or anything. And so that's a rule that sometimes is really difficult to implement, especially if you're at home and it's crowded and you have kids and you have your dog and you have, you know, your roommate walking behind you. Let's face it, not everybody lives in a 2 or 3 bedroom house where you can have a dedicated office. Some people you're meeting when you're sitting at the dining room table.
But you could have a fake screen in the background, like I do.
Yes, yes, like Cesar does. Yeah, and I have used those too, like Regina, but it's disconcerting to me when I move and the screen makes me disappear. So
It messes with my hair. It
yeah,
really does.
right.
You know,
It makes
can't
it look
have that.
funky. It makes it look like you're having a bad day. So Cesar, I don't have the perfect answer for you, but it is challenging. And I would say working from home is not perfect for every job position. I know for us, the Johnson & Dugan, it started with the account executives and the account managers. I was an account representative. I was required to be at the office 100% of the time. But when I moved into account management, whoopee, you know, I love that. I love that perk. And so you as an employer also have to identify which positions within your company are ideal for working from home, right? Because there are some positions that are just not going to work. If you're the receptionist, if you are working in the warehouse, if you are, you know, creating a product that requires you to be at the office or at the company using the machinery, that's just not going to work. So you have to get creative, maybe changing the schedule, maybe having some employees come in the morning and some employees coming in the afternoon. You know, who knows? It's time to get creative.
So, you know, Maria, that's, believe it or not, about the software that you were saying about Wells Fargo and stuff. Farmers doesn't have nothing like that, that we can check the employees from home. And so that's kind of scary. That's why, you know, I kind to like let my employee go right now and manage it myself, since I have more time now at home. And another point of view that you said is, even though, you know, I have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, I still, the rest of the people here, they're not going to turn off the TV. As you can hear, you know, my boyfriend is listening to the news and stuff like that. And I have to be where the living room is, you know, because I have an office in there. So
yeah,
it is kind of hard when it comes to manage the other people's lives while you're trying to work.
yes.
And also, you know, I wish farmers will have more updated software where we can manage what the employees are doing. The only thing we can do is having like a meeting every Tuesday and see what's going on and see and show me a report and
yeah. So, but
yeah.
Liz, here's I'll say one thing about that. If the employer, if let's say Farmers does give you a software that you can put in and keep track of what your employees are doing, that's adding more work to you, because now you have to monitor them. And so
yeah, they will not let you do that, because
yeah,
it's like, you know.
yeah, I think that the best outcome is that employees learn how to be efficient, and it starts with training, really. And then also as a manager, you also have to know how much to trust your employees, and maybe that employee is just not the right employee for the job. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people out there that are really qualified. So maybe it is time to find those people that are
so to your point, now my son lost his job, and so now he's my new employee.
Well, there you go.
he moved in with me, and he is getting his license. In 2 days he's taking the test, but I've been training him since he's here with me.
Mm-hmm.
He's here, and for some reason this opportunity just came up, because he used to have a good job and everything. So things happen for a reason, I always said, right?
Things happen for a reason. And I'll tell you, the insurance industry has turned out to be a really great career for me. I loved it. But one of the things that I never imagined was that it would give me the opportunity to work from home, you know. And so I think that it's great that you're able to introduce this industry to your son, because I'm sure he will learn to love it.
Yeah. He does. He likes it.
What about you, Saley?
Spanish though.
What about you, Saley? I mean, because I know that you also, yours is more or less a family business, right?
Well, kind of. So my son works with me on my second business, but he's been looking for a job. He had interviews lined up when we went to lockdown. And to me, it's been good, because he keeps the company phone all day, you know, so that he can take like kind of screen calls for me and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been helping me a lot. And he's been interviewing. If he gets another job, I'm screwed. But I don't have a full-time job for him either, you know, so that's the problem there.
That's the balance, where you have to figure out how much work is enough for him, right?
But it's easier for me having him, us both being home, because I can get an email say, hey, Gabe, can you text blah, blah, blah and ask this? And can you send the packet of documents to this person? And he knows exactly what to do. And I don't have to, you know, wait for an answer through email. He just gets on it right away, kind of stuff.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know, it's funny
that
that you say that, Celie, because the same thing happened to me. And because he's studying in his room and I'm in the living room, we got this app that is called, it's from Microsoft, and it's the to-do
Teams?
list. So whenever whoever calls, he's pre-screening the call, and then he sends me the message saying, please call this person, blah, 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 and through this app. So he doesn't have to get up every time and, you know,
So this
bother
is-
me while I'm doing something else.
What's the app that you use?
It's called
Teams?
It's the Microsoft, and it's called To Do. It just it has like a little check mark, blue check mark. And
We'll
it's
have to
from
look it up.
Microsoft. Yeah, and it's really good because you can update it, what's going on, and you know,
So
mark
this is-
whatever who you call back and everything. So
So this is another example of leveraging technology.
yeah.
And you know, we never
That was his
we
idea,
never
actually.
yeah, we never would have considered all
No.
of these tools if we were
Yeah.
still working in the same.
On the leverage technology, what, especially between me and my son, less so between me and the other company, even though we do it also, Google Docs, man, because we can update and see, and I'll be like, well, did you update blah, 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 and he'll be looking at it, and I can see the changes he's making at the same time, and we can, when sometimes I'm in a call like this and I have to mute myself and yell at him to do something, and he'll do it all and update the file, and I don't have to ask him, did you do it? Because it'll be in the file updated. So
Yeah,
Google Docs has
exactly.
been a lifesaver.
Yeah. So say
Well-
you and I were in the same place, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
to me like you guys are. Well,
Yeah.
everyone, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your questions. Anytime I get to do a presentation and people ask questions, I know that you were paying attention. So I really appreciate that.
A timely topic.
Thank
No,
you.
thank you very
Yeah.
much. I appreciate
You're very
it.
welcome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, thank you,
I'll say
Maria.
goodbye. Thank you,
And the
Pauline, for
checklist?
recording it. Yes,
Thank you so much.
I will send it to Pauline and she can just